In this video, I'm going to examine the question of whether self-reported GPA and official records GPA are actually related to each other. In one of the other studies that I talk about in the textbook, we look at the question of whether goal setting is related to GPA, and it was found to be a positive correlation. The question arises, but when you read that study is, well, can you trust students to report their own GPA? And so I found a study that actually looked at this very question, and they had students self-report their GPA, and they also had official records to verify whether they had self-reported their GPA accurately or not. And so the sample size here is equal to 89 students for whom there were results associated with self-reported GPA and official records GPA. And before I carry on, I'm just going to ask a question of how big of a correlation do you think it is? Do you think it's a large one, a medium correlation, a very large correlation? I was a bit surprised at what the answer was. So let's look at it. First thing I'll point out is that these data are scored on a interval ratio type of scale, and therefore the Pearson correlation is a possibility. And I'll look at the distributions first, just to make sure that they're sufficiently normal that I can rely on normal theory estimation of p-values. So I'm just going to look at the skew, and that's really all I'm interested in here. Skew is very low, much less than an absolute value of 2, and kurtosis is also very low, much less than a value of 9.0. So I'm going to click on Analyze, Correlate Bivariate, and see what this correlation looks like. And we can see that the correlation is actually 0.968. It's almost 1.0. So a very large correlation was estimated from this study based on 89 participants with respect to self-reported GPA and official record GPA. So this result would suggest we can actually trust students to report their GPA, at least in this study, which may have involved a different scenario than on average, where you might just bump into somebody and ask their GPA. In this case here, they were doing a study, and that might make people tell the truth more. We don't know. But at least in this study, the correlation was estimated at a whopping 0.968.